Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. Before we get into it, I want to begin with a comment from Leo Stewart who says, can you do your usual introduction spiel in Japanese? Well, let's see if I can. Konnichiwa minasan, markcrilley desu. Mata atarashii video o tsukurimashita yo. That's my best effort at that. I asked my wife, who is Japanese, how do you say I'm back with another video? She said, it's very hard to say that in Japanese. And so we said something like, I have once again made a new video, is the translation. Now let's get on to the beginning of this question and answer video. This is number 26. And I have actually two comments before I get started that are going to help set this up. First comment from Sumit Negi, who says, I've seen a lot of your drawings, and a lot of them are awesome, but I've never seen you drawing Western superheroes having a lot of muscles, like Spider-Man, the Hulk, etc. And that's absolutely true. I don't think I have ever done a video like that. Here's another comment from Moonwaker, or Moonwaker, I'm not sure. Would you prefer me to call you Captain Indicate or Professor Blushes? And between those two, I'm going to have to go with Captain Indicate. And if you put these two together, you come up with what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to draw a Western-style superhero by the name of Captain Indicate. And I've put down the basic guidelines here to help get myself started. So let's go ahead and begin to draw a good old Captain Indicate here. And as I do, I will be answering some questions. You know, some people might not even get the joke, indicate. When I started doing YouTube videos years ago, I said the word indicate a lot. Too much. Every video you could count on me saying the word indicate at least like 4 or 5 times or something, so it kind of became a joke. But now I don't think I say it. I haven't abandoned it completely, but I don't say it as much as I used to. So I don't know if anyone's like, indicate? What is he talking about? In any case, let's get on to the next, or not the next, but the first of the real questions in this video from Kevin Sarantidis. I hope I'm saying that right, and I guess, you know, let's just assume I'm going to be saying some of these names wrong. I'll apologize for that right now, all the way through, instead of saying it again and again. Why did you start with drawing manga and not with superhero comics? You can see I selected this question to sort of go with this drawing, and it is, you know, it's a good question, although it actually does sort of assume that I started my career doing manga. That is not true. My first series, called Akiko on the Planet Smoo, was not drawn in a manga style, nor was it drawn in a superhero, traditional superhero style like you see in America. It was really just my own kind of old-fashioned American cartooning style. I would say it reminded me. It had a little bit of like Popeye in there, Winsor McKay. I don't know if anyone knows his work. Great classic cartoonist from the, boy, I think it goes all the way back to the turn of the century, his work. In any case, that first series was not manga style at all, and I think just because of the YouTube videos and how things went with YouTube, people maybe thought that I've always been drawing in a manga style. And that really began more around 2007, 2008 with the publication of Miki Falls. But I thought I'd say a thing or two about, you know, why didn't I decide to do superhero comics? I loved superheroes as a kid. My brothers and I used to pretend to be superheroes and all that good stuff, and my mom would even make costumes for us. I was a big fan of the Atom back then. But for some reason, by the time I reached the age where I was going to actually make my own comics, I guess I just didn't. Well, you know, you can't casually start making a superhero comic. If you want to enter the world of superhero comics, you really have to be good. You know, your skills, your drawing skills have to be pretty amazing. You have to know your anatomy backwards and forwards. When I first was trying to get published back in the early 90s, I was about 25 years old. I had not spent a lot of time trying to learn that style, that superhero style. And frankly, I just wasn't capable of it then. Indeed, I could consider myself capable of it now, even. In any case, that is why I did not seriously consider trying to create a superhero comic. Maybe I understood instinctively that I was going to be better off creating something that was not trying to enter that highly competitive world where there were so many people already working, you know, that if I created something quirky and offbeat, I wouldn't be facing such stiff competition from other people in the field. Let's move on, though, to number 2 from Mega Matt Movies. Have you ever done artwork for someone else as a job? And if so, how did you deal with having to draw things in a certain way that you may not have agreed with? That is a question to be reckoned with. You know, have I done drawing sort of work for hire that is strictly not really just drawing the way I feel like drawing, but really trying to please some other person, and it's pretty much 100% their vision that matters and not my personal preference. I suppose in the early times, I mean, there was one time way back when I was still in college, a local bed and breakfast wanted me to do an illustration of the building, the house where the bed and breakfast was established, and I remember drawing that, and the person came back and said, "Well, you haven't drawn every single brick." You know, I had sort of drawn in a way that suggested that this was a brick surface without drawing every single brick. And, yeah, basically they made me go back and draw every single brick. So I guess that was my taste of what it's like to be bossed around a little bit artistically and made to draw something that you didn't really want to draw. But I've been lucky since then. Almost everything I've done has mainly been, you know, of my own creation, or even when, you know, back in the 90s, or I guess it was more early 2000s, the Nickelodeon magazine would hire me to illustrate SpongeBob comics and different things like that. And that sort of involved, you know, trying to draw a pre-existing character like Squidward or whatever. And I just enjoyed the challenge of that, actually. I didn't feel like, oh man, I have to... the man is oppressing me. You know, I didn't feel like that at all. I enjoyed trying to draw other characters and do them justice. So I guess I don't, to go back to the original question there, I have not had to deal too much with doing drawings that are 100% for some other person and having to suffer through their critiques that I maybe don't agree with. I have not had so many experiences like that. I've had that with writing, and I think I talked about that in a previous video, a book where, you know, the publisher's vision of the story was different from mine, and I basically caved and tried to give them what they wanted. And that was not fun, and I kind of regret it. In any case, let's move on to the next question. This one, all in katakana, from Kuristaru Sukotto, Crystal Scott. Number 3, do you think it's possible for an artist from a foreign country to be successful in Japan? Now, there is this sort of idea among aspiring manga creating, you know, young people in America. Boy, I want to go to Tokyo and try to get a job as a manga artist. And I probably have responded to this in other videos, but it was quite a while ago, I think, the last time I talked about this. And I just wanted to say that I really do think that that's a bit of a fantasy, this idea that a Westerner, an American, or a person from France or some other country going to Tokyo is going to be able to get a job illustrating manga. I don't see how you're going to pull that off. I mean, first of all, it's highly competitive anyway with the Japanese people who are already there, who, of course, speak the language fluently and know... Oh, excuse me, I'm knocking things around here. Know the culture, the work culture, how to get a job, how to interview well, all that stuff. I mean, it's just, you're up against so many hurdles. I would say the main way that a Western person is able to have success in Japan is by having built up a reputation outside of Japan. And then maybe, possibly, you know, if you have proven yourself as a manga creator in America, maybe, if some publisher in Japan likes what you're doing and has some idea of how it might work for a Japanese audience, you may be one of the lucky few. I would guess that you could, count on the fingers of one hand the number of Westerners who have had manga successfully published in Japan. It's a slightly closed market, my understanding. They don't welcome in non-Japanese with open arms. It's hard to get in there. So anyway, I thought I would respond to that, but again, not to have it on a pessimistic note. Look at me. I succeeded doing manga-style work here in America. Did not try to get published in Japan. Still have never had my work published in Japan. But I'm not hung up on that. I've had, now thanks to mastering manga, I've had things published in Korean and Chinese, and we'll be talking about that more a little bit later, actually, because there's another question that relates to it. And I decided with Captain Indicate that he would have to have an insignia, as all superheroes do. And I thought I'd do an insignia with, like, the letter I, and then the letter C behind it. Now, some people said, shouldn't it be the letter C, because it's Captain Indicate? But see, that's just what they'd be expecting me to do. I don't know, for whatever reason, I saw it as the I in front of the C. Let us move on to number 4. From Wildfire, you mentioned you've got plans for a non-manga drawing book in the future. Can you tell us more about that? What's going to be in it? Indeed, and I think even in the last video I started to mention this, and I think now it's time where I can finally reveal the title of this new project. It's going to be called The Drawing Lesson. And let me go ahead and splice in a few bits of sample artwork. It is decidedly not in a manga style. It really is more of just a loose cartoony style that I would say has almost nothing to do with Japan. But yeah, have a look at this, and then I'll come back to explain a little bit about what the whole project is trying to do. All right, so you see there, those of you who are, who know Brodys Ghost, Mickey Falls, you might be kind of shocked. It's like, Mark, that doesn't look like what you've been doing lately, and indeed it doesn't. I guess I needed a little bit of a break from that type of story and that type of artwork, and so I created this very different style, and one that hopefully will have appeal to people who like manga and people who don't like manga, and a wider audience of people who are just want to read a good story. Now, this is an interesting story, though, and the whole concept of the book, I dare say, is somewhat original within the American marketplace. The idea is to create a graphic novel story about a boy who meets an artist, a woman who's a professional artist, and he sort of pressures her, pushes her into becoming his mentor. In fact, I originally wanted the title of the book to be The Drawing Mentor, but we talked it over and thought, yeah, I don't know if that's the best title. Anyway, it's going to be called The Drawing Lesson, and he sort of pushes her into becoming his mentor, and so she begins to teach him what she knows about drawing. And it's like a 10-year-old boy, something like that. He's not quite a teenager yet. And she, as she gives him lessons, while you're reading the book, you are kind of getting these lessons the same way he's getting them. So you're reading a story, but you're also learning about drawing. And I will be talking a lot more about that. It's coming out next year. I think it's probably best for me to hold off and not go into it in too much more detail. But there you go, my first reveal in one of these videos about my next project. I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I feel like it's kind of the first of its type. A story, a graphic novel story, but also a kind of a how-to-draw book woven in together with a graphic novel. Let's move on now to number 5 from Sunil Gumid. Really not thinking I'm getting the pronunciation there. Sanele Gumede. Have no idea, but my apologies if I got that wrong. Do you ever regret things about Brodys Ghost after publishing it? Very interesting question, and I have to say, in general, not very many regrets about Brodys Ghost. I feel like it is very much the story that I wanted to do. I was given, almost 6 years to complete the story. I was given plenty of time to do it, to get the artwork looking the way I wanted, and so big thanks to Dark Horse Comics for allowing me to make the story the way I wanted to, giving me the time. There is one thing, and it's a little hard to talk about without spoilers, but those of you who've read the last book, book number 6, Brody is in a difficult spot. He's trapped. Let's just say that. I'm trying not to give away too much. He is trapped. Talia comes along, and she reveals that she has a power, not without its risks, but she has a power that can help him escape from this trapped situation that he's in. I do sort of regret that I had not made some reference to that power earlier in the story. It seems to kind of come out from nowhere. Some people might accuse it of being a little deus ex machina, a solution that just sort of drops out of the sky into the story magically. That is not the... I mean, that was the plan from the beginning. When I came up with the story, I knew that was how she was going to, offer him a means of escape from this situation. But looking back, I probably should have made some little reference to the fact that ghosts are capable of doing such things, or that Talia is capable of doing such things. I think they call that seeding. You're seeding it in, like planting a seed, so that later on it doesn't seem to come out of nowhere. I guess it would have been nice if I could have made some reference, maybe way back in the book 1 or 2, so that we have some sense of that before it suddenly, conveniently, comes along into the story. So I guess that's one regret. But otherwise, no, I feel very happy with Brodys Ghost, very happy with how it turned out. Let us move on to number 7 from KJ600. Why isn't mastering manga known as mastering manga in Poland? Instead, we got the secrets of mastering... What? The secrets of manga art. I gotta learn how to read. So yeah, this is sort of an interesting question. I say that every question is interesting, but really... they all are. I brought out the books here so that you could see every publisher in the foreign country, they get to retitle the book. So in Germany, it's called Manga Masterclass. In the Spain or Spanish-speaking countries, Dominar el Manga. In French-speaking countries, Dessiner de Manga. And finally, in Korean, something that I cannot read, but I wonder if indeed that says mastering manga. Maybe they changed it as well. And like I said, there is Chinese, there are Chinese versions, and as you saw in the question, a Polish version. I never did get a copy, sadly, of the Polish version. Otherwise, I would pull it out and show it to you. But the thing is these foreign editions, it all starts with the publisher in the foreign country. It's not, people might have the idea that an American publisher says, well, let's try doing a Spanish version. That will sell, and then, okay, let's do a French version. No, it doesn't work that way. It starts in the foreign country, and they have, I think, conventions where American publishers, all different publishers, show what they're doing, and then I'm sure at the individual, let's say German as an example, the German publisher, they sit around, they have meetings, they're like, which foreign language editions are we going to do? They look at the sales figures. Hey, this mastering manga thing seems to be doing okay. How about if we do a German edition? And so they contact my publisher called Impact, or FNW Media, the full name of the company, and say, hey, can we do a German edition? Will you sell us the rights to do a German edition? Almost always, the American publisher says, yes, we would love for you to do a German edition. And that's how it happens. And so to facilitate the sales, the success of the book in Germany, they don't have these hard rules about, no, you have to keep calling it mastering manga. No, they trust that the local German publisher knows best as to what will help the book sell in Germany, and so they allow them that freedom to rename the book. So thanks for that question. I don't think I have ever talked about that, and it allowed me to sort of get some information out there about how that whole aspect of publishing works. Not just the retitling of things, but where does the idea of a foreign edition come from? You know, for example, like people in Brazil might be saying, how come there's no Portuguese edition? Well, no Portuguese publisher, to my knowledge, has yet contacted the American publisher asking for the rights to do a Portuguese edition. Not that I'm complaining. I feel very lucky to have had as many foreign editions as I had, but just to let you know, that's what it's going to take. It will require a Portuguese publisher, Portuguese language publisher, to ask for those rights, and if they do, I'm pretty sure the American publisher will say, yes, let's do it. Oh boy, you know, I thought I got things out of order. This is number 6. It's not number 7. Dude! My apologies. So we are getting back to number 6 here from the XCore 360. How do you decide on the pacing for a comic/manga? Now this is a big question, and I could go on for hours answering it, but pacing is an important thing in comics, and maybe I'll do a separate video about it someday. My sense about pacing is that you don't want too much of the same type of scene to continue for too long. So you have a lot of people talking to each other for page after page after page. Well, guess what? Soon you need a scene that has some action, has some motion, has less talking. If you have scene after scene after scene of people talking, your pacing is getting weird, and people start to fall asleep, and people begin to get the image that you have a boring story. I want to back off of that. That's not true. There's, certain stories can be composed entirely of people talking, just like certain movies are composed of people entirely just talking to one another. But in terms of pacing, I guess even within a talky movie like that, you want a variety of types of conversation. It's all about variety, and it's a little hard to make rules about it. But let's say the whole thing is starting to feel quite serious, a little heavy. That's when you need, comic relief. That's why they call it comic relief. People need to be relieved of the heaviness, the seriousness that's starting to sort of make them feel crushed and sad inside, and that's why you bring in some sort of humorous character or some humorous moment, just to break things up a little. It's all part of pacing, and I would love to go on about this, actually, because I think it's a fascinating topic, but I feel like I'm running long already with this video, so take that as just, don't have too much of any one thing consecutively, is my basic rule about pacing. And watch this space. I will hopefully come back with a video that, 10 tips about pacing, whatever. I have this sort of series of videos, and maybe I'll link to that in the info box. 10 tips to help you, or 6 tips to help you, that kind of. I've done a bunch of those videos. Let us move on now. Hopefully I'm getting the order right here. Yes, number 8 from Z-Slayer Masamune. Do you ever feel like your final inked drawing looks different compared to when it's in the pencil stage? Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time. Every time. Ink looks different from pencil. It's always going to look different. And I wonder, sort of reading behind the lines of that question, I wonder if what he's or she is asking is, do you ever feel disappointed? Do you ever feel like, man, it looked better before I inked it? And absolutely, absolutely. In fact, today, this drawing, I'm not going to be inking it. I'm just going to leave it as pencil. And I did that with Miki Falls. Miki Falls is a penciled book. Ink, in general, very clean, smooth looking, whereas pencil has this rough sort of quality that you might find pleasing, and you might regret when it goes away. I'd say both have their benefits and drawbacks. So if you find that you think your drawings look better when they're just in the pencil form, you could choose to just leave them in pencil form. And these days, all kinds of comics are being published, and not every one of them is inked. Or not every one of them. I'm trying to do the grammar. Not every one of them is inked. Yeah, you got painted comics, and certainly there are examples these days of comics that are just pencil. has to be beautiful. You know, it has to be beautiful pencil, but yeah. All the rules are gone, basically, these days, in what I think is a wonderful way. Comics can be almost anything you want them to be. Let us move on to number 9. From Katydid 1992, how important is it to a publisher whether or not you went to an art college? And I'm going to say it is 0% important. It is not important to a publisher. They don't care what college you went to. They care about how good your work is. And if you are able to create good artwork without going to an art college, you're fine. In the eyes of the publisher, they're not looking at stuff like that. They are looking at your work, your actual work that you are delivering. Now, that being said, going to an art college can be very helpful. It may be what you need. I didn't go to an art college. I went to a liberal arts college, Kalamazoo College. I majored in art, but it was not a specialty art college. My understanding is that specialty art colleges are incredibly expensive. Some of the most expensive colleges in the country are art colleges, which seems bizarre because artists are notoriously poor. Not sure how that works logically, but yeah, I've heard that they are incredibly expensive. So don't feel that for the publisher's sake you need to have this diploma from an art college. That is not the case. I really don't think. Now, you know what you want? If you want to go into art instruction, if you want to be an art teacher, in the real world, not on YouTube like me. Yeah, that's where you need that diploma from the art college if you want to teach art. So let's move on finally to number 10 from Sayaka Ichigo Kamishiro. They're hearts. They're little black hearts in the original name. My apologies, I couldn't get those to print out. But the question is this: which female character are you more proud of, Miki or Talia? Miki from Miki Falls or Talia from Brodys Ghost? You can predict that I'm going to say it's hard to choose. I think between those two characters, in terms of personality, Miki is the one that I'm more proud of. She seems more like a real person. Talia, though, in her own way, in the personality, I also am proud of because she surprises you. As you read the story, she turns out to be a different type of person from what you thought she was. If we limit the question to principles of design, no question Talia is the one that I'm more proud of. I spent a lot of time designing Talia, trying to come up with her clothing, her hair, her whole look. And so, yeah, I would say definitely feel more of a sense of an accomplishment, I guess, about the design of Talia. Well, that brings us to the end of our serious questions, or normal questions, and now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video, the lightning round. Give me a moment, though, because I am going to take a little break here, kick it into time-lapse, try to carry this illustration a little further forward, and then we're going to be back with those silly, silly questions. Okay, well, that gets us a lot further along here with Captain Indicate. Defender of blushies, wielding his mighty black Prismacolor. I was actually going to add to that earlier question about, how come I never did a superhero comic? In a way, I kind of did a superhero comic with Brodys Ghost. I think Brodys Ghost is really my version of a superhero comic. It's got that classic origin story, the sort of loser, powerless guy who obtains powers, uses them to battle evildoers and so forth. So, yeah, in a way I have actually ended up doing my version of a superhero comic book. And who knows, maybe the next project is Captain Indicate. I'll be talking to people at Marvel next week, I'm sure, after they see this video. But let's move on to the lightning round of questions. This first one from Bruno Almeida. He says, can you beatbox? Well, this is bound to be humiliating, but I'll do my best beatbox for you guys. Here we go. A little off on the end there. I did my best for you, folks. I hope you hope you enjoyed that bizarre little interlude. Never to be repeated. This one from Alfred Benoit, or Benoit, I'm not sure about the pronunciation. Number 2, what's your favorite 80s band? You know, I'm a child of the 80s, teenager back in the 80s. I loved all those 80s bands. But it's funny, as I thought about my honest answer to this question, I came to the conclusion that I would have to say Crowded House, which I was not into back in the 80s. I totally missed them. I discovered them more in the 90s. But yeah, I think they count as, in many people's minds, as an 80s band. And I would say, yeah, Crowded House, Neil Finn. Probably my favorite today. Let's go on to number 3 from Lepezi66. Can you solve a Rubik's Cube? No, I cannot. I've never gotten farther than, I think, 2 sides was the best I could do. This one, number 4 from the XCore 360. Hi, Mark. What was your first car, and what is your dream car? My first car, believe it or not, was a red Mazda Miata back in the mid-90s, stick shift. It was pretty awesome, I gotta say, but I've never had such a snazzy car since then. My dream car is this one. I'm going to show it to you right now. Yes, it's called the Nissan Figaro. It's out of production. They've stopped making it. It's a Japanese car. If I had it as my dream car, I would definitely need a mechanic who is able to fix them and a lifetime supply of replacement parts, because once it would break down, I don't know who I could take it to. Let's go on to number 5 from Romani Ramsey. Do you prefer listening to Japanese music or English music? When I lived in Japan, I listened to quite a lot of Japanese music. I still do every once in a while, and I'm convinced that Japanese songwriters sometimes come up with amazing melodies, every bit as good as our finest songwriters in the West. But these days, yeah, I have to admit, it's mainly American, British bands, and you know, a smattering of international groups. Let's move on to number 6. From Michelle Cowell. Have you ever laughed so hard that you fell off your chair? I don't think I've ever laughed that hard that I fell off the chair, but I'll tell you what, I do laugh until I'm crying. Fairly frequently. I'd say at least a couple of times a year I laugh that hard. And usually it's a friend of mine, Dennis Moylan, who gets me laughing to that degree. Let us go on to number 7. Got to do my French here. Lisou, une fille comme tout le monde, who asks me, has someone ever told you that your voice seems like Keanu Reeves? I don't think I've heard that one before, maybe once or twice. Whenever I think of Keanu Reeves, I think of him saying, whoa. But I will take that as a compliment. The man has a nice voice. Usually, as I have said before, it's either Seth Rogen or Kermit the Frog. So I guess I'm a blend between those two. Let's move on to number 8 from Santiago Tovar. Do you like Greek food? I love Greek food. I love Greek food. Unfortunately, though, 2 of the Greek foods that I like the most are, I believe, phony Greek foods. The flaming saganaki, where they say, Oppa! That's completely American-made. I believe they invented it in Chicago back in the late 60s. Also, rice pudding. Let me know, Greek viewers. Is rice pudding legitimate Greek food? I believe it isn't, but I could be wrong about that. Number 9 from Destiny Bogging. Can I have that cookie from that realism challenge? Those of you may know the reference. I did a realism challenge with a cookie. No, I ate that cookie shortly after I completed the video. But you can find them. They're from Pepperidge Farms. They are, what are they called? Santa Cruz raisin oatmeal. A lot of people don't like raisin oatmeal, though. I saw in the comment section. Whew, I thought they were going to come after me with torches and pitchforks for choosing a raisin oatmeal cookie. And finally, number 10. Do you have a favorite brand of sardines? From Ninja Russ. And of course, everyone has a favorite brand of sardines. Mine is King Oscar sardines. I confess, I went to the grocery store and bought this just for this video. How's that for dedication? But you know what? I found out as I looked into it. King Oscar Sardines, world headquarters, Bergen, Norway. where I was just a couple of weeks back. What a weird, that was like a Twilight Zone level coincidence there, folks, once I got that home and realized the connection there. But there you go, folks. That is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun doing this superhero drawing. Let me know what you thought of it. Maybe I could do an actual how-to video. Although, you know, as I say, I've never professionally done a real Marvel DC Image style superhero comic, so I don't know if I'm qualified to do such a video, but I certainly could do one if you want me to. Let me go ahead, though, and lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.